Hello and welcome back to REV Endurance Sports. And today we're going to do an unboxing of these pedals. Now these have been in the market for a little while, but it's worth going over them again. A lot of times on my channel, I don't cover things that are latest and greatest. I just cover things. Majority of my content is organic. As it's happening, you get to see it. So in this case, what's been happening is I've been selling a lot of these Favero. These are the MX Pro, and I've been selling the MX Pro 2. 2 just basically means dual metering system. Power meter on the left, power meter on the right, so you get true individual metering for each one of your legs. And they've been out for a little while, but this is just the way it works sometimes. I talk about things for a while and then finally a customer says, yeah, okay, I'll buy that. Or, the momentum starts and folks start buying power meters, even though these have been out on the market for a while. But the reason I do want to talk about them is because they are basically it is the same internals of the road pedal. And I've got another unboxing video for that. But let's just go over some of the stuff that they talk about here, just so that we can be on the same page as they say. So the biggest thing with this pedal system is that if you know of the old Favero system, so for those who did not know the previous Favero pedals, it had this little pod, for lack of a better description, and this was removable, and you can get new pedal bodies or whatever, bearings, and this housed all the electronics, and that was where you charged it, right? It was just a magnetic port. Some people had an issue with it. I don't know why. I mean, once your foot was, you just wouldn't even see it. So I don't know. But some people had an issue with that. Anyway, so Favero decided, well, okay, we need to hide those electronics, and so they have now a stainless steel spindle, and the electronics are housed in here. And this is now where the charging will take place, right there. And this will be the adapter with the little prongs on it that you just put over that. Now, here's the thing. These are 60-hour battery life, so it's not like you have to charge them all the time. And if you try to figure out how much are you riding, hopefully you're on Strava. I mean, I don't understand people that are not on Strava if they're cyclists or athletes, but this is a cycling channel. And you take a look at what's been your average number of hours ridden over the last, I think it does like a 4-week period right at the top of your statistics. So you get a general idea. Oh, I'm riding about 10 hours per week. Oh, so that's about 6 weeks between charging intervals, right? So let's see if I'm covering this stuff because I'm just going off of top of mind. All right, left and right metering, 100% Shimano SPD cleat compatibility. Now, they ship with the SH51. Now, if you're not aware of this, there are 2 SPD pedals, right? So you have a 51 and a 56. And basically, the easiest way I've learned to remember it is the 51 is, only one way to get out of the pedal, right? Whereas the 56 is multi, right? So 1, 51, and then 6, 56 multi. So they ship with the SH51 Shimano branded cleats, right? That if you were to zoom in and focus on that. So it is 100% SPD compatible, right? It is a 1% plus or minus 1% power meter accuracy. Now, I've often talked about this for other power meters many years ago, because 1% is now the new standard, but it used to be 1.5%, and before that it was 2%. The thing is, if something is reliable and it's always telling you, because it's your pedal, it's always telling you that you're doing 300 watts, it doesn't matter that it's, maybe 305 or maybe 295, right? It's always telling you 300, right? So you can train to that because it's reliable enough that every time you're doing that type of effort, it is reading 300 watts on your cycling computer. So I don't worry too much about accuracy. That's really not that important to me. I worry more about reliability. Now, obviously, I don't want it to be, 10% plus or minus. But if it's 1.5%, 1%, I just don't worry about that stuff, right? This is an arms race for the power meter companies. For you and me, it doesn't matter. As long as it always, for that particular pressure that you're applying to the pedal, it reads 300 on that hill, then that's it. That's all you need. I mentioned the 60-hour battery life. They talk about this platform center offset, this PCO thing. You can drill down into a rabbit hole so deep, so wide on power stuff that, I think it's cool that they offer this type of feature, but it's really not important. What's his name? Peak Torque guy. He made such a big deal about that on his road pedal. He's off or something on one side or the other. Who cares? It's not important. It really isn't. Get your wattage information, and that's that. But the PCO thing, it's on their app, and you could see where you're applying pressure onto the pedal, inboard side, outboard side. Doesn't matter. There's so many of these things that just don't matter. Ride your bike. Use the power meter to pace yourself. Okay. Aluminum body, talked about. I don't know if we talked about that, but stainless steel spindle, aluminum body. And then the pedal stack height, 11.2. Again, just silly stuff that people worry about. Oh, this pedal's got more stack height than that pedal. Just adjust your saddle. It's fine. It's no big deal. No fit is perfect. No pedal is perfect. No stack height is perfect. It just, again, these things just don't matter. People make a big deal out of this on other channels, but it's not. Especially if you're riding a mountain bike and you're riding a dropper seat post, or on your gravel bike, does a 11.2 millimeter stack height on this pedal and then the stack height on the XTR pedal being different matter that much? It doesn't. This is the kind of thing that people obsess about, just silliness. Okay? So if you're riding a dropper seat post, you don't really care what the stack height is on a pedal, right? You're up and down all the time. Modular design, interchangeable. So this is really cool. You probably don't want to do this every day, but you have the option to do it. So you have the same exact pedal spindle. So in other words, the road pedal that just came out has the same spindle that the MX Pro came out with, I don't know, a couple of years ago, whatever it was. And by the way, this is all proven technology because I've had these like 7 years, and these have been amazing. The reliability on these has been absolutely amazing. So now, if you want to, you can take the pedal body off of this gravel mountain bike style SPD and put the road body on there, right? So maybe one pair of electronics and then two bodies, road and SPD mountain bike / gravel. Now here's the thing. A lot of randonneurs, and other people too, by the way, like to ride SPD cleats because their shoe, the cleat is not exposed. So their shoe, the rubber of the shoe makes full contact with the ground when they're walking into, a Starbucks, or they're walking around anywhere, taking pictures, touring, doing whatever. They don't have to worry about that they could slip and fall, because their road cleat being exposed like this is slippery. I mean, I have seen people fall, and it's happened to me too. Or you do a really quick movement, and heck, you can throw out your back, right? Things can happen. Personally, I keep my things separate, right? If I'm gonna go graveling or mountain biking, never, but if I were to do that, I would ride an SPD, cleat, pedal system, cycling shoe. On the road, I ride a road pedal, road shoe. I mean, I did PvP, walked from, a country mile from where you park your bike to where you got to go in to get your passport stamped to where you got to go get food. It's fine. You'll be fine. It's not a big deal to walk around in cycling shoes. I prefer not to. Oh, actually, in fact, I had these little, they were like yoga type slippers or something. They had a really hard rubber, but the top was just a fabric. So that's what I did. Now I remember. I would leave my shoes either by my bike or in the entry hall. And actually, I think London, Edinburgh, London, which is LEL, it's a 1,500 kilometer. You just can't walk around the gym and the cafeterias or whatever. You set your shoes outside and you walk around socked feet. So if you want, you can bring those little slippers. I may have to show those in a different video, but personally, I do not ride my road bike with these. It's just not what I do. I think mountain bike gravel shoes, they're really clunky. It's just not my thing. All right, they are made in Italy, and so tariffs apply, right? Whatever the tariff is going to end up for Italian made items. So this is an electronics company actually in Italy, right? Which is kind of cool. Right, so what else do you get? We mentioned the cleat. You get your pedal washers. You get your little adapter. This thing is proprietary, but everything else isn't, right? And neither is your charging cord. Your charging cord is USB, and it is the micro. So remember that this pedal system came out about, 2 years ago, I guess. And so on the Shimano, these are basically an SPD SL version now. These came with a USB-C tip on it. But these pedals are awesome because the Favero people make a fantastic pedal system. The electronics, the reliability, all that stuff. I think it's like a IP67, for the waterproofing thing. IP67 waterproof protection, so all of that. Some folks, they sometimes say, oh, but it's a pedal, you're gonna have a pedal strike, it can hit a rock, but that kind of stuff just doesn't always happen. It's rare, but even still, I've crashed on these pedals. I don't know if there's any damage on that, but I've crashed on these. They're fine. You know, it's no big deal. So yeah, so I've sold quite a few of these. So now these are heading out also for another customer. So the gentleman up in Seattle, thank you so much for your business. These are your pedals I'm doing the unboxing with. And yeah, there are some other specs in there, but a lot of that stuff just doesn't really matter to the general public who just needs a pair of pedals. Oh, yeah, let me talk about that. So I think a lot of you folks, when you're asked, well, why don't you have a power meter? Oh, they're expensive. Well, you kind of think about it, you're thinking about it the wrong way. You're buying a bike, you're building a bike, you're doing something. You need to buy pedals. And just about anyone should be using a power meter. There was one guy who said, oh, because I said everyone should have a power meter. Oh, well, I don't need a power meter. My rides are fewer than 10 kilometers. So I did that conversion. That's about 6 miles. Yeah, dude, you don't need a power meter because you don't even need pedals. I mean, just put some flat pedals and go ride your bike with flip-flops. That's it, you know. But you're not the use case that I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about everyone else who rides more than 10 kilometers. But you need to buy pedals anyway. So instead of buying a set of XTR pedals or a set of Dura-Ace pedals that are $300, buy the power meter pedal because you need to buy pedals anyway, right? So you buy the power meter instead of, you know, the XTR or the Dura-Ace pedal. And then the disparity in price between those two is only a couple of $100, right? You're going to spend more than that on your chai latte, double pump, express, extra hot, whatever you get at Starbucks, right? Over the year or even in 6 months time frame, right? So please get that thought process more in line and be more frugal and thrifty with your purchases, and don't buy twice. Don't buy a set of pedals, dumb pedals that don't give you power, and then buy a pair of smart pedals that do give you power. Now you've duplicated what you have, right? So yeah, in that respect, it would be more expensive, right? So anyway, I think that's all for today. I hope I didn't offend anyone, but yeah, everyone should be riding with a power meter. It's excellent for pacing. You don't have to be a bike racer. In fact, if you're not a bike racer, that means you're not as strong of a cyclist as a bike racer is. You're not as in tuned with your body. Maybe you're a randonnier. Maybe you are a recreational rider. Maybe you are coming back from an injury, which is a good reason to have a dual metering system so that you know what your left and your right leg are doing if one of them is the one that's injured. In my opinion, riders that are not as fully trained, riders that are coming off the couch and want to ride their first 25 miler, they should have a power meter too, because the pacing and the information you glean from a power meter is invaluable to riding at your best. Okay, anyway, that is all for today. One last thing before we go though. I did start a new series where I ended up calling it Power Meters for Dummies because I didn't know what else to call it. But it's basically a new series. It's on a new playlist, and it's just about, oh, I'm new to riding with a power meter. What do I do with this thing? How do I use it to its best potential for me? So that's a playlist, and I'm going to start doing videos and adding that to that playlist. So look for that in the public playlist. And for everyone else, thank you for your time and your attention. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you up the road.